Hey there, fight fans. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this episode of Combat Sports Talk. Welcome to Combat Sports Talk, a podcast dedicated to UFC and Bellator discussion, the MMA community, and combat sports in general. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and joining me this week is the man with the keys to victory, John Key.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Heck, I go away for a little bit and come back, and yeah, we got things to talk about today because some respect got to be put on some people's names today. You know?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea.
I
what
bet
you're
you
don't.
Don't. I
bet he don't. Look, and he got on his blue shirt too, so he's looking like.
Yeah. All right.
Couldn't wait to have this conversation.
I know you guys are looking forward to it because I might have said some things in the past that I now have to be. I have to come to roost about and have to talk about. So we will just go ahead. We'll get to that in due time. And
yes,
the double champ, coach to the stars, George G Money Stalwart.
What it do, baby boy? What's up, Combat Sports Talk Nation?
What up? What up? All right. Well, we have a ton of show to get into. And so I'm really excited because we're going to talk a little bit about Bellator 259, Cyborg versus Smith. We've got UFC Vegas 27, Rob Font versus Cody Garbrandt. We're going to hit the closing chapter, all right? The closing chapter on the Diego Sanchez, Josh Fabia epic. And then we're going to hit some headlines that have all things to do with MMA moving on because we are tired of waiting. We are tired of the past. It is time to move into the future. And that's what we're going to talk about in our headline segment. We're not covering any fights this week, so we're going to get right into it. And then I have, a special note that I want to end the show with. So let's go ahead and get into it. There were 2 fights that we covered last week that we got results for. So this is the official decision. This is the official decision. This is where we talk about the fights that were on Friday and Saturday night. Bellator 259, Cyborg versus Smith 2, Friday, May 21st, 2021, at the Mohegan Sun Arena in Uncasville, Connecticut. There were 4 fights on the card. Jaleel Willis defeated Macon Mendoza. I'm gonna guess and say that there's no S's on that. Not Mason Mendonça, but Macon Mendoza via unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. Austin Vanderford defeated Fabian Edwards via unanimous decision, 30-27 on all 3 cards. Leandro Higo defeated Darian Caldwell via split decision, 28-29, 29-28, 29-28 in favor of Higo. And Chris Cyborg defeated Leslie Smith via 5th round TKO. This was a beatdown from start to finish by all accounts. Leslie Smith showed some grit, getting rocked, getting dropped, but getting back up. In the 5th round, she got rocked one more time, and she could not return. And therefore, Chris Cyborg defends her title and still the featherweight champion of Bellator.
I don't even know why that was even, okay, so I'm not going to go talk crazy about it. Props to Leslie Smith for stepping in the ring. Not many people would, okay, because it's Chris Cyborg. Watching that fight, like we said, there are levels to this game, and Cyborg's been at the top for God knows how long. She is, in my opinion, the best to do it.
Amanda Nunes said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah, Amanda's like, I don't know.
Hey, like I said, she says "hold my beer" with her eyes closed. Okay, and if she said,
big facts.
She said that holding her eyes. So with that said, we need to find a gym where they on neutral ground, maybe somewhere in middle America. They can just go ahead and square up and get it off their chest.
No, they just need to go to Shoot the Box. They're both from Brazil.
Well,
Yeah, they
not
go to
only
shoot about.
this has already been decided. We've already seen that, and we know how it played out, man. So
Nah,
for you to
nah.
even say that Cyborg is the best at 145, I think you trolling Amanda. Honestly,
I'm not trolling Amanda because I don't want that smoke, but I want
I'm just
less
saying.
smoke from Cyborg. Okay,
Well,
trust me. Okay.
you know how I feel about that Amanda Nunes Chris Cyborg result. Amanda
Mhm.
Nunes won. It is recorded in the books as a TKO finish in the first round by Amanda Nunes. But you can go back. I encourage our viewers who are watching right now and anyone listening to the sound of my voice, you go back and watch that free fight on YouTube. It is out there. You go back and watch how many punches Amanda Nunes threw with her eyes closed, and one of them just happened to catch Chris Cyborg. That's when you see her open her eyes and she's like, "Oh wow, I just dropped Chris Cyborg." And then the Amanda Nunes that we know, that's when she appeared and she finished the fight. But before she landed
Hey,
that punch, it was like,
it looked like a fight in the cafeteria. I'm telling you,
hell
man.
yeah.
That's what it
we're, we're gonna
was.
we're gonna have to take a week, go back and watch this fight because memory does not serve me so well. I've been hitting the head a lot, so I want to go back and watch this and see if I see what y'all are talking about.
Yeah,
I'm
listen.
just saying, man.
What are you doing tonight? Because I know a place where we can go. We can watch that fight together, and I will point out to you, eyes closed, eyes closed. That punch right there, eyes closed, and then she lands, and then her eyes get real big, and she's like, "Oh, I can win this thing." She
And
went from
went
fighting
for
for
it.
her life to fighting for a championship.
Exactly. You didn't, because look how hard she celebrated after she won. Okay, you thought that not only did she just win, that she won the publishing clearinghouse sweepstakes too. Okay, I mean that's what I'm talking about. Okay, that's the level of celebration.
I'm gonna let y'all finish, but this started to be about Chris Cyborg, and now we on Amanda. But
So yeah.
you said her eyes got big though. Speaking of getting big, so John, I don't know if we had pumped it into the show yet. You know, John and I are doing basically a challenge. We haven't figured out a name to call it or anything like that, but I did kind of want to bring it up and acknowledge that on the show if we had time. Or do we have a segment built in for that? I actually didn't go through the run sheet yet.
We do not have a segment built in for it, but what we can do is let's find a spot near the end of the show and we can talk about it because I want to get in on it. I want to get in on it as well, and that way we can all chronicle our path to enlightenment. Maybe that's what we'll call it.
I like that. I saw what you did. I saw what you did. Let's do it.
We'll call it the path to enlightenment. We'll add a segment to the show where we talk about how we're losing weight. We're enlightening our bodies. We're getting lighter, huh? All right. Okay. So Chris Cyborg promptly called out Kat Zingano as the next fight. She said that you can't be the GOAT if you're scared of the cat. I think that she's running out of people to fight, to be honest. And I don't see Kat Zingano offering really any more challenge than anybody else at Bellator for Chris Cyborg. She just needs to get that check that box off the list because at the end of the day, Chris Cyborg is in Bellator the best to ever do it, and I don't think there's anybody. I don't think there's anybody that's even close in Bellator that can shake a stick at Chris Cyborg, and she's not getting any younger. So let's go ahead and get Kat Zingano out the way, and then
she's doing what she's supposed to do. Though she's cleaning out divisions. That's what she needs. Once she cleans out Bellator, she needs to go ahead and sign up to another female fight promotion or any promotion that has a female fighting division and clean them out too. And just keep doing that.
Think about it though. It's just going to get easier and easier. The only place where there is a challenge is Amanda Nunes in the UFC, and that's the fight that she's never going to get again.
Yeah, because Amanda knows. She knows that lightning only strikes in the same spot once. Okay, she knows this.
I cannot stand y'all today. I can't stand y'all.
I mean, it's taking nothing away from Amanda Nunes. She the lioness. She proves it. However, we know Amanda knows.
You know,
Her little
so
baby
we're
knows.
going to add a
Baby
new
knows
term
that
to the
mom
drinking
almost
game.
got beat.
Whatever.
Drinking game.
Drinking game. New term. Eyes closed. We got to drink.
No. Eyes wide shut. Okay, let's do it.
All right. So any reference to Amanda Nunes and Chris Cyborg together is a drink. All right. So there you go. We're adding it to the drinking game. We talk about if you talk about Chris Cyborg and Amanda Nunes, it's a drink. It's almost like the other combo that we had that we talk about.
Yes.
All right, let's go to UFC Vegas 27 Font versus Garbrandt date. Saturday, May 22nd, 2021. That was yesterday at the Apex Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. There were 6 fights on the card. Jack Hermanson defeated Edmund Shabazian by unanimous decision. This is one we all three called. I was on the Shabazian hype train until Mr. Stallworth convinced me that I probably shouldn't be. I'm so glad that I don't have to eat no crow on that one.
And don't get it wrong though. If you watch that fight, that first round was scary. Okay, because I like, Shabazian's kind of piecing them together, but then Hermanson came in there and he changed it around for everybody.
Well, he got a 10-8 round, and so
we gotta be. And man, we'll talk about that on the other side, man. Go. Yeah. I'm sorry, Ryan. Go ahead.
Right. Bill Algeo versus Ricardo Ramos. Ricardo Ramos defeated Algeo via unanimous decision. We had Norma Dumont defeat Felicia Spencer via split decision. Jared Vandera defeated Justin Tafa via unanimous decision. And then Rob Font defeated Cody Garbrandt via unanimous decision.
What are
we doing?
What? Hold on. Two things. One, the Justin Tafa, Jared Vandera fight, that's where the bloodbath began. Okay, if anybody wanted to know where all the blood came from on that mat, it was from that fight. All the blood spatters everywhere because Tafa hit Jared with a forearm or elbow, and it was just like I'm pretty sure everybody there was like, stop this fight. Yeah, because there was a murder, but in reality, once they cleaned it up between rounds, it was just a little cut. It was a little cut right here, like this big. And it was fine, it was just bleeding everywhere. The second part is that I don't know which run sheet you're looking at, Mr. Smith.
What, you talking about what's on line number 19?
I'm looking at line number 19, young man. Carla Esparza.
It is amazing how he just skipped over that.
Carla Cookie Monster Esparza. By the way, Cookie Monster's first name, Sid, was defeated Yan Xiaonan by TKO punches.
Say that one more time, John.
Yan Xiaonan. Carla, right. Cookie Monster, as far as Sid. Cookie Monster's first name is Sid.
There's something wrong with the audio. I can't hear anything that y'all are saying right now. I just.
Let me finish up.
I wonder why you have blue on. That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I know, Sid. Okay.
You kind of, I feel like you're walking around here like with your blue on, like Cookie Monster would or so. All right.
Let me do it.
Is that what's going on?
Here we go. You ready?
I'm just saying.
I need complete silence for this.
Before you hit the button, who did you pick to win that fight?
Yeah, who'd you pick there?
It's recorded. It's recorded on the.
No, but I'd like to hear you say the name.
I want to hear it. I want to hear that name.
All right, I picked Yan Xiaonan. I did. I picked Yan Xiaonan to win.
Right.
So my next question, sir. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it.
Can I do it? Get this out the way.
I should have asked
respect on my name.
Exactly. Can we put some respect on her name? RESPECK. Respect. Okay, that's all I want to know. That's all I want to know, man. She's on a 5-fight win streak, dude.
Man, well, Yan Xiaonan was on a 6-fight win streak before.
Well, how's she feeling about that today?
He gonna cry in the car, John.
All right, so let me for those listeners out there who want to know why I'm just catching all the smoke right now, it's because of this. when they announced this fight, I basically said that Carla Esparza was so far off the pace that they shouldn't have even let this fight happen. That it was a crime to let Carla Esparza walk in the ring with Yan Xiaonan and have this fight. I even played this.
Now, the time has come for us to select one courageous young woman for the honor.
So I even played the Hunger Games for Carla Esparza because I thought she was just being a tribute to be sacrificed to the great Yan Xiaonan. That's what I said. I have to stand on my. Okay, go ahead.
It goes deeper than that.
You've been hating on Carla Esparza for years, bruh. Years. You've been holding on to. I don't know what kind of grudge you got against Cookie Monster or whatever, but this is not the first time you've been slick talking about that young lady. What you got to say about that?
He been dirty talking her since when JJ fought her. I believe that's when it happened.
Look, and he ain't got nothing to say. He is quiet over there. He is biting his lips are pursed right now.
Yeah. Is that a bead of sweat I see? Is that a bead of sweat, sir?
This is true. I have hated on two people in the in the strawweight division. One of which I had to come off it and say that, you know what, Angela Hill did her thing, and now I have to come off this one as well. Carla Esparza.
Now Angela Hill is your best friend right now.
Yeah, I know, right?
You love her. Like y'all tweeting back and forth with each other and stuff. So maybe you and Cookie Monster can develop a relationship.
Oh no, I'm gonna hook this. Hey, I'm gonna hook this part up for Cookie Monster and send it to him and be like, see, we got your back. 2 out of 3 ain't so bad because we got your back.
So it's true. I have hated on the Carla Esparza. I have been on the opposite of the hype train, with the hater list, for the longest time. And it's true. It's ever since Joanna Jędrzejczyk just dropped a train on her, and so because she didn't.
Well, you may have the last laugh.
Well,
because
I mean,
you're talking about the Rose and Carla rematch.
Yeah, but Carla has the win on her. Carla beat Rose Namajunas at what was it, the Ultimate Fighter? And so Carla actually has the leg up, but at the same time, Rose was still Rose Namajunas, not Rose Thug No Hair Namajunas. So right after she lost, Rose cut off all her head and hair, and it's been a different thing ever since. So not the same one that she's going to run into, but at the end of the day, yes, Carla Esparza, I have been on the hater list for Carla Esparza, and she came out there, took Yan Xiaonan down, and just beat her up in the first round. And then in the second round, took her down, put her in crucifix, and the first round she bloodied her up. In the second round, she just made it worse. And just next thing you know, her face, Yan Xiaonan's face, was matching her outfit. It was all red.
Yeah. Abusive. So put some respect on her name. All right. Let her know that she is the monster that she is. Okay. And we'll move on. That's all.
It just makes me mad, though, because at the end of the day, I can tell you that it feels like Yan Xiaonan thought that because she beat up a grappler, that she didn't really have to train. She had to be afraid of a wrestler. And there is a difference between wrestling and grappling.
There is.
When you say grappling, are you referring more to jiu-jitsu, or what are you saying here? Who did Yan Xiaonan beat up?
Yan Xiaonan beat up Claudia Gadela.
Oh, okay, yeah. There's big difference in that kind of jiu-jitsu and wrestling, yeah.
There you go.
I see. People need to understand that Brazilian jiu-jitsu and Japanese jiu-jitsu are two different animals. Okay, Brazilian jiu-jitsu is the more passive one. It's literally, this is what you do when you get took into the ground. Japanese jiu-jitsu is much closer to wrestling than it is to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And, if it had been a Japanese Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, then we'd be like, okay, all right, you might have a chance. But wrestling? Nah, bruh. Wrestling is just like American attitude. It is brash, it is in your face, it's abusive, and it makes you feel funny at the end.
The big difference between those two is it is a major difference. Wrestling is more meant to control you. With wrestling, I get to determine where the fight's going to happen, how long it takes place there, whether or not I want to put you on your back or wherever. With jiu-jitsu, I'm either attacking you, or I'm defending from you on the ground. There's a big difference.
Right. And I feel like that's kind of what they were thinking, is that Carla Esparza was just going to be another Claudia Gadelha. And so as a result, they could execute the same game plan, and you just can't. And when you came out there, Yan Xiaonan runs right into a takedown. And it's like, what are you doing? And then she didn't have the requisite skills to get back up. I'm watching this going, oh my gosh, Carla Esparza is going to control her all around for the entire first round. What are we doing here? And then it's like the second round, she didn't try. She wasn't successful in keeping this fight standing. And let's not get it twisted. Yan Xiaonan is an outstanding kickboxer, but kickboxers suck on their back.
Yeah.
You gotta know that. All right, so I will commit that I will speak less negatively about Carla Esparza, at least until she loses it.
Wow.
Is that fair?
You make sure you hashtag Carla on this show.
Listen, I don't need her showing up and coming at my neck. All right, so
yeah, because it looked real sad when she 5'1", you 6'5", sir. Okay,
and she take me down and control me, crucifix me, puts a knot on my head too, and be like,
exactly. I'm just saying, man. Plane rides to Dallas is very cheap on Southwest right now.
What are you talking about? Plane rides to Denver. Come see me. I also go by Kalechi Onyebuchi. Find me at Factory X.
Carla really dominated that fight, though, man. And talking about the wrestling, though, she actually did made quite a few submission attempts. So she even mixed her jiu-jitsu with the wrestling. If you go back and look at it, there's one point where Carla literally set her butt on Jan's face and went after the arm bar. Then I think she switched and transitioned back. There were several Kimura attempts, like just all kind of things mixed in there. So good for Carla. Good for Cookie Monster.
Exactly.
She did her thing. And then in the main event of the evening, Rob Font defeated Cody Garbrandt via unanimous decision. We had two 50-45s. We had one 48-47.
Dude,
I think he won the first round. I think Cody Garbrandt won the first round.
Oh yeah,
these judges.
Man, we got to talk about that because they starting to embrace that 10-8 for real.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was just a fluke, but no, it's becoming a pattern.
Yeah, when you look at the Carla Esparza fight, you see a 10-8 round where the opponent is on her back the entire time, and there's nothing she can do, and that's a 10-8.
Yeah,
I didn't see a 10-8 round in that Rob Font Cody Garbrandt fight. I just didn't.
No,
absolutely not. And if anything, they said it best. And if you go back and watch it, when Cody struck first, he was hitting and he was dominating, but he was gun shy for some reason, and there was no real reason why that he needed to be gun shy like that.
So there's an R&B group called 112, and that's what Rob Font was throwing, that 1-1-2, and it was catching Cody every single time. Jab, cross, man. And it was like boom, and that's why he was gun shy, because once because in the first round he took down Rob Font and he was able to kind of control Rob Font a little bit. Once Rob got back up in the second round, he would land that 1-1-2 and just turn Cody Garbrandt's head, just blam. Now Cody's got a chin, and it was funny because Michael Bisping was like, there's an expiration date on the chin. You got to be careful because the chin has an expiration date. And it's like, well, we ain't reached it yet for Cody Garbrandt because he was taking some big old shots from Rob Font, and he was still coming. But by the end of the fight, you could tell he was frustrated. You could tell that he was bloodied up. He was tired. And the fact is that what we needed was that Cody Garbrandt that just put his head down and started swinging, because when he finally
Southwest Cody.
Yeah, when he finally started getting in there and brawling, he started landing on Rob Font, but it was too little, too late.
You saw a couple of times where he grabbed a fence, reminiscent of that one knockout he had, right? Like he leaned back, grabbed a fence, like he was
leaned back, and getting ready to load up. Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I'm really seeing, there's been this changing of the guard, and some of these guys that are showing up aren't necessarily brand new. They're guys who've been in the back, just on the back burners for a while, and now they're stepping out of those shadows. They're stepping out of those, not being ranked into those 15 through 10, number 10 placements. I think Rob was like ranked number 4. But I'm really seeing a big shift when it comes to that, man. These guys are dominating guys who we saw as champions. I mean, Cody was a champ. I think he even defended the belt once or twice, right? Took the belt off Dominic Cruz. But here Cody is now.
Yeah, he took the belt off Dominic Cruz and quickly gave it to TJ.
But you get what I'm saying? Like, Cody is a champion.
Yep.
And to see him get worked over by Rob Font like that, it either says that Cody's skills have diminished, or these guys coming up skills have increased so much that they're dominating guys like that, man. And it's something to be on the lookout for. You're seeing it across many, many different divisions throughout the UFC. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see it in other promotions as well.
Well, also, and let's take into account too that he is a long version of the COVID. He is a survivor of that. So we could be seeing a diminishment not only of his skill set but of his physical abilities as well.
And that's entirely possible. However, one of us had confidence in Rob Font, and one of us had confidence in Cody Garbrandt.
To the day, I'll be the one to admit it. I had you, No Love. I had you. Okay. And guess what? Every time I see him and I see his name up there, it's gonna be a Cody Garbrandt for me, because you know what? He powered up and knocked somebody straight out at the bell, and I will never forget that. That is a highlight finish. Okay. Nobody has powered up since Goku off of Dragon Ball Z powered up and took care of somebody like that in one hit, except for One Punch Man. Okay, that's it.
Oh, you talking about the real One Punch Man, or are you talking about Hamzat Chimaev? So anyway, yeah, John Keys had Cody Garbrandt, so we played the Crow for him. I had Rob Font. One other thing that happened on Saturday night that is of note: Paul Felder, the Irish Dragon, announced his retirement from MMA. He regretted that he wasn't in the ring and able to put his gloves in the center of the ring, as is customary for a fighter who's retiring from the sport. But he said that he doesn't have the burning desire to fight up for many more years and become a champion. He says, I always said that if I don't see that title picture a year or so into my future, I would retire, and I would do it for my friends, my family, and myself. I'm 37 years old, and I feel very fresh. I love the UFC with all my heart for everything they've given me, an opportunity they've given me to commentate and the like. And then I'm officially retiring from the sport of mixed martial arts. Dana White said that he's done an amazing job here. He's had an incredible career here, and now he's starting, well, I shouldn't say starting, but really starting his new career after fighting. He's a great commentator. He's done an amazing job, and he's happy for him. Congrats on what he's done for the UFC in the past, and he looks forward to working with Paul Felder in the future. So that was the statement from Dana White. I think it's a big deal, because Paul Felder was one of those just working class kind of guys in the UFC that you could guarantee that it was going to be a competitive fight, win or lose. And he was a fighter that, had, while it was the slimmest of measure to fight for the title, he was willing to put his standing on the line for a fight, which is what he did against RDA. 5 days notice. stepped in from the commentator booth to walk into the ring and fight a guy who had been training for 8 weeks?
Hey, I'm gonna say it like this. I guess the ultimate measure of a fighter is to be known as a guy that anytime, anywhere. All right, and Paul Felder is a guy that actually met those requirements. He never backed down. He never skated from a fight. So that's what I remember of Paul Felder. The fact that he was smart enough to sit there and say, you know what, I'm done. Just like Kenny Rogers says, know when to hold them, know when to fold them. And he did that. So hats off to Paul Felder. He will be missed.
All right. Anything else to add there, George?
Said it all, baby. Let's go.
All right. Well, speaking of knowing when to hold them and knowing when to fold them, we're going to talk about something in our next segment, which is Finding the Angle. This is Finding the Angles. This is where we talk about the headlines that are making waves in the MMA world. And let's talk about the number one thing we want to talk about today. That is our headlines. Diego Sanchez announced that he is cutting ties and ending his professional relationship with Joshua Fabia. And so this was announced early last week. The UFC Hall of Famer Diego Sanchez is no longer working with Joshua Fabia as a manager, coach, and guru, he told MMA Fighting on Thursday. Sanchez declined further comment on the situation, saying that he would make a statement next week and needed to gather his thoughts before speaking to the media. We haven't heard him give his thoughts yet on this, but Sanchez's attorney, Charles Lakens, said the decision to leave Fabia was made on Thursday and that he had withdrawn his business ties to the coach. And then it added this, which is where I want to talk about how crazy this situation was. Any power of attorney that Fabia had has been rescinded / terminated. Y'all, Joshua Fabia had power of attorney over Diego Sanchez. Y'all, that is crazy.
Okay, so we talked about this, we mentioned that earlier the week on Thursday, as a matter of Thursday or Friday when we talked about it. And I had to go back and do a little research on that. There's only been, do y'all remember the Beach Boys? Okay. We old fogies, help me Rhonda, help me Rhonda, things of that nature. I bring that up because whatever, you're like 2 days after me. Anyway, so Brian Wilson. Okay, if you remember Brian Wilson, they had a bit. The Beach Boys had a big falling out from Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson had this guru, if you will, or this guy that was actually taking power of attorney on, and basically had brainwashed him for several years. This is the same thing that I believe has happened here with Diego Sanchez. Is that he had this guy basically kind of brainwashed him over these past few years and to basically control his life, told him that that he knew everything, and fortunately if that Diego snapped out of it, it's unfortunately the circumstances in which it happened. Okay, I hope this can help. This will, this is a good step for him to kind of reestablish the relationship that him and Dana had, because Diego said it best. Diego has bled for the UFC. Okay, he has bled for him. So I do hope that Dana does give him a bit of respect back and actually talk to the dude.
So, but listen, let's just define power of attorney, because I want people to understand how much control Joshua Fabia potentially had over not only Diego Sanchez's career, but his life.
Yes, power of attorney is. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ryan. It looks like you had it. I'm sorry, sir. Go right ahead. He looks like
Okay.
you had it.
I was gonna read it, but if you want to go ahead and define it for, I mean, we could, you know.
I mean,
But-
I'll have to dust off my paralegal hat, but yeah.
All
Okay.
right, I'm getting this off of Investopedia, but
Okay.
it says a power of attorney is a legal document giving one person the power to act for another person. The agent can have broad legal authority or limited authority to make legal decisions about the principal's property, finances, or medical care. And the reason why that last one becomes such an issue is because we are talking about MMA. And so not only could the power of attorney act on behalf of Diego Sanchez in signing contracts, in making deals and things like that, but making decisions about what happens to Diego Sanchez if he gets, you know, if he starts getting that CTE and things like that. So now it puts a different color, if you will, on the request that started this whole ball rolling, coming from Joshua Fabia, that he wanted all 15, 16 years of the UFC's medical records for Diego Sanchez.
Okay, on the benevolent side, all right, there's two ways you could look at this. There's benevolence and malevolent. Benevolently means that he's looking out for the best interests, okay? Meaning that, you know, yes, he has the power of attorney. That means he's going to make the best decisions applicable for Diego. Worst case scenario was that he was going to try and take all this stuff and actually go after the UFC and anybody else for, you know, in the name of Diego Sanchez, and potentially cut Diego out of all that money, because as a power of attorney, you can do that. And guess what? Legally binding, there's nothing that Diego could have done because he's acting for Diego. If Diego was
I'm
getting
more
hurt or
interested
injured,
in hearing why Diego decided to go ahead and split from Fabia all of a sudden. You know, it's not like we haven't already seen this downhill trajectory that things have been on for him, getting cut from the UFC, losing that the potential fight against Cowboy. Just all these domino effect things have been occurring over and over again. Not only that, just the way Fabia has interjected himself into social media, into the news, MMA news in general. Hell, the way he went at all the guys at that press meeting that they were having for the fighters, the fighter meeting or briefing before whatever fight night they were on. So I'm really interested in, like, what was the straw that broke the camel's back that told Diego, hey, you got to go.
Yeah, hopefully we'll hear
Up
what that is this week.
Like, even days ago, you know, before this was announced or whatever, you know, Diego was defending him still. Like, had gone on several podcasts and was still defending him.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is one of those things where it is entirely possible that Diego Sanchez, you know, someone finally got to him and said, listen, you are ruining your relationships across the MMA world. Because think about how many people, when that upside down hanging video where Diego Sanchez is hanging upside down and Josh Fabia is kicking and punching him, think about the outcry from across the MMA community. So it's no longer just Dana White that's yelling about this and saying this is bad. Now you've got respected fighters across the MMA world saying this guy is bad for you, Diego. I think that finally when he started looking around and saying people are starting to turn their backs on me because of this relationship, because Diego Sanchez, I remember reading Diego Sanchez saying that he had to give up family relationships in order to be with Joshua Fabia. Like, the cost that Joshua Fabia had in Diego Sanchez's life, it extends beyond professional at this point. I think that this had to be the straw. This it. That video coming out. And seeing their
I'm pretty sure that's one of them, but I am curious as well. I mean, could it have been I like to think it might have been a family member. Does he have any kids? Does Diego have any kids?
I don't know what his family situation is.
He does have a daughter.
There's got to be some bombshell, shocking something that's going to come out. Because the video in itself, I get what you're saying, Ryan, like, hey, that's bad. But Diego knew that existed. That's not new to Diego. You get what I'm saying? I also get what you're saying. Like the community is rallying around saying, "Hey, Diego, you got to get this guy out or whatever." But we've been saying that forever anyway as well. You know, like hell, he just went on Anthony Smith's podcast from Factory X. Please drink. And it was discussed there. You know, and Anthony was like, "Dude, I'm coming at you with nothing but love. I'm speaking to you as someone who potentially is going to be in your situation, and this is what I see happen."
So yeah, but you know, I guess for me, I was thinking that perhaps maybe Diego Sanchez, even though he knew this, he you see things in a new light once people start commenting, right? You know, it's one of those things where yeah, it's kind of weird and all of that kind of thing, but then when you see the video and you see how everyone's reacting, you're like, oh, this is not good. I knew it was kind of weird. But now that I'm hearing people, your eyes open.
Not for guys who are suffering from CTE and or possible mental health issues already. It reminds me of this joke where play the conspiracy theory music for me right quick.
Here we go. Right here.
So it reminds me of this joke where the guys were talking about flat Earth and how staunchly flat earthers defend their theory of it to the death. And so the joke was, hey, this flat earther guy died. He went to heaven and he asked God, he's like, God, I got to know, isn't the earth flat? And God said, no, the earth is indeed round. And the flat earther goes, well, this conspiracy goes higher than I think it did. They're never going to believe, you know, like, what does it take?
Yes, yeah. People. We also do dad jokes here. Okay.
Well, the big thing is that hopefully this week we will hear what Diego Sanchez has to say. You know, it's very difficult now to know like which Twitter account is actually Joshua Fabia's and which one is just a parody account. But I went on Twitter trying to find, you know, what his reactions were, and you know, it's just very difficult to know if it's a parody account or not, because if it's the real account, I think it's Joshua Fabia SOS from the School of Self-Awareness. If it's Joshua Fabia SOS, then he is just a person that I can't believe can work his way into these situations. And then if it's not, and it's a parody account, then you know, it just really goes to show how the MMA community has sniffed this guy out from the very beginning. Like, I think once he showed up on the scene, we were like, this guy's not good. I think everybody within the MMA community knew that Joshua Fabia was bad for Diego Sanchez from jump, and now I am thankful that Diego Sanchez is saying, I hear you, I see you, and let's move on. Speaking of moving on, wait, you got something, Mr. Keys?
I was just I'm just overlooking Diego Sanchez records and everything like this. You know, he never lost more than 2 in a row. When he was on a slide, he never lost more than 2 in a row. He would lose 2, and then he would go on and win a couple, 2 or 3, and then lose 1 or 2, and then win again. And it's just like, I'm looking at his record. He could have been a great one. He is a great one. What am I saying?
He is a Hall of Famer. He's a great one.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer not only with the UFC, but with Grapple Quest, Grapple Quest is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition. He's a 7-time Grapple Quest champion. He's in their Hall of Fame. He's he's got 3 Fight of the Year awards, one with Carl Parisian, of course, the one with Clay Guida, and one with Gilbert Melendez. He's won a World MMA awards. He's decorated, and I just hope that he sees the light and repairs the relationship that he has. I really do.
Well, we'll definitely keep our eye on it. But something that won't be repaired, and that is Jacare Souza's future with the UFC. He has been part of the 60. Once he got his arm broken, lost the last fight in his contract, the UFC said, join the 60.
Nah,
and they're like, no, thank you. We don't want you anymore. Jacare Souza was lifted off the UFC roster this past week. He underwent surgery on Monday last week to repair his broken arm, but we don't know where he's going to pop up next.
The UFC is cold, bro. There's no love for you from the UFC.
Broke your arm. How you? That's like, oh my God, you got your arm broke and fired. Okay,
think about it in terms of just some of the things we've seen the UFC do when it comes to business decisions. Like hell, the Josh Fabia and Diego situation. The attorney got on the phone with him, and the minute he heard Fabia even reference, CTE or anything like that, it was like, okay, look, we're sending this letter. You guys sign this letter or fights off. Like the UFC is about business, and that's what happened here with Jacare Souza. They were like, you know what? He's on the other side of 40. Arm broke, and this ain't the first time that arm's been broke. Yeah, bro.
We're good.
But also,
we got you.
Let's remember, Jacare Souza was on a 4-fight losing streak. That was his 4th loss in a row. And if you go back to his last what is that? 10 fights, he's only won 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
Going all
the numbers don't lie. Don't get me wrong, but you guys know Gator is game. Like whenever he steps into that octagon, you might see something spectacular.
Yeah, he is as game as Joel Romero. I'm sorry, Ryan.
No, I disagree. Joel Romero actually was like game and losing fights by decision. Let's go back and show he lost because he got his arm broken. He lost to Kevin Holland because Kevin Holland knocked him out from his back. Right? He lost a split decision to Jan Blachowicz, but after that it was a unanimous decision lost to Jack Hermanson. He did knock out Chris Weidman, which that used to be saying something, but these days, as we'll talk about it later, probably isn't. Kelvin Gastelum beat him. Robert Whittaker knocked him out. Like,
dude, you're fighting all the number 1 contenders. What do you expect?
Thank you,
Jack Hermanson.
Jack Hermanson, he's 1 shot away from being a number 1 contender, man. Come on.
Wait, if he's 1 shot away from being a number 1 contender, then he's not a number 1 contender.
But he's
you get what I'm saying. He is fighting the cream of the crop. He's fighting everybody that's ranked 10 and above.
Okay.
Losing.
When you're fighting the elite, I mean,
do that. That's fact.
And the other thing is, go back and actually watch some of Jacare's fights, man. Jacare likes to stand up, even though his specialty is jiu-jitsu. The man does deserve some props, man. He came in here. He was known for jits, but if you look at him, he likes to bang. He's an exciting fighter to watch, hands down.
Yeah. I mean, I fell in love watching Jacare with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, okay? Because he is literally, if he it used to be he gets you on the ground, and that was a wrap. You could literally turn it off knowing that he won, okay? That's what Jacare was known for. Yeah. And then we found out he can box, okay?
Yeah. And guess what? Guess what? You guys are talking about stuff way back in 2015. Like y'all are.
Wow! Look at him.
Listen, you were sitting there the good old days when Jacare Souza could.
We're not talking good old days. We just look. Cody Garbrandt. We just went over his accolades and talked about how decorated he was. He was a champion back in 2016. Same scenario. That's what I'm saying. They're getting a little longer too. They didn't let Cody go.
Okay, let's just remember, they didn't let Cody go because Cody is actually not on a 4-fight losing streak.
Cody got knocked out 3 times back to back. Like, what are you going to do? Argue that one with me. Come on now.
I'm just saying.
And one of those was by somebody that wasn't even ranked, I think. I don't even remember the guy who knocked him out.
Oh yeah, there was a video going around where they were laughing and saying that Cody Garbrandt. Don't tell me he's the best boxer in the UFC because he got knocked out by this guy.
Man, just dirty,
yeah.
boy. Y'all
Cody
doing like
Garbrandt
dirty.
was on a 3-fight losing streak, but then he won his 4th fight, and then he just lost again. So, but in his last 10, he's 6 in his last 10. Jacare is only half as good.
You get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. So we have to see what Cody does when he's coming back. What he's going to do next. Cody could get cut. We don't know. But the UFC is quick to move on people, and that brings us to our next story. Dana White claims the UFC has moved on from Jon Jones. He says that's a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I say moved on, they're not getting rid of Jon Jones because that would be crazy. But they're just not going to try to make that fight with Francis Ngannou. He goes, yeah, I've absolutely moved on. Dana White told TMZ Sports, listen, I put on fights every Saturday. We have a window where we try to build some fights and make some things happen. If the fights don't happen within that window, we move on. And realistically, I mean, I've been saying it from the beginning, Derek Lewis is the guy who should be getting the title shot. He beat Francis Ngannou. He's next in line. He's coming off great performances, and that's a wrap. We're moving on. I think that that's fair. Like, let's not try to be like Jon Jones is getting the raw end of the deal here. No, Jon Jones had an opportunity, but he wanted to fight for way more money than UFC was willing to pay. And the fact is, Derek Lewis is like, hey, I'll fight for much less than that. And I would be excited to see Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou too.
Everybody would be, and that's the reason why it happened. You know, Jon Jones. Hey. Go ahead, Coach.
This is only going to make the Jones Ngannou fight bigger. Granted, he's got to get past Derek Lewis first, but this is a smart business. We just talked about it. The UFC is about making business decisions, and that's what they did here. They're counterbalancing the leverage they have on Jon. 1, he's under contract. 2, he's going to have to fight at some point, somebody, some way, and so they pulled his. What's known in the community are culture tags as they pulled his whole card.
Well,
they said, here's Stipe. This is what you're worth.
He wouldn't fight, and he wouldn't fight it. He said he was not going to fight Stipe. So,
which makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense not to fight Stipe because guess what? That is the start of your conquest. A smart fighter would have said, you're going to give me the former champion? Let me put him away and show you how it's really done. Okay? The current champ had problems with him in 2 rounds, and I'll have problems with him in 45 seconds. I would have did that and then would have cemented my realm, my claim.
A couple of episodes back, I think you weren't on, but we basically had Ryan take over as Jon Jones' publicist, manager, and all these things. So I think we should hear from Ryan on how Jon should play this out.
No,
absolutely.
I 100% agree with John Keys on this one. So here's how I would do it if it were me coaching Jon Jones. I would say, take the Stipe fight. Here's why you want to take that Stipe Miocic fight. Because we know that Stipe Miocic is a known entity. He doesn't have great wrestling. So he's going to want to stand and bang. You have outstanding wrestling. You have the reach advantage on Stipe. You have the height advantage on Stipe. And so therefore, you're going to come in there as the favorite and you should easily win this fight. But here's why it's so powerful. Because you're fighting the guy that is billed right now as the greatest UFC heavyweight in the history of the promotion. And if you put him out in 1 round or 2 rounds, that's 2 losses for Stipe Miocic. The dude will probably retire, and you get on your record that you retired the greatest heavyweight in UFC history coming into the Francis Ngannou fight if he were to beat Derek Lewis. But even if he doesn't beat Derek Lewis, then you step into the Derek Lewis fight, having Stipe Miocic's scalp on your resume. That is a huge thing as your very first fight. Why wouldn't you go and take that fight when you know that you are built for beating someone like Stipe Miocic? He's not going to be able to outpower you. He's not going to be able to outstrike you. He's not going to be able to outwrestle you. This is easy money, John. Take it and then get paid.
And on
I
top
like where
of
you're
that,
going with that. And then that makes it undeniable after that. There's no way they can deny you the Francis fight. And it probably will increase your stock as far as pay.
exactly.
100%.
And on
And
top
they
of that,
can't-
I would.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, okay. I would just say I would get a belt, and every heavyweight I would beat, I'd put their nameplate on it. I don't need no diamonds. I need a nameplate. I'm taking everybody's name in the division. That would be
Yeah.
my belt.
Well, the other thing, too, is that Stipe Miocic is the type that wants to sit on the sideline and wait for something to happen and then make a claim for the belt. If you just wait and fight Francis Ngannou, and let's say after the Derek Lewis or whatever, then Stipe can come back and say, I'm the greatest
Where's my
heavyweight
shot?
where's my shot? You eliminate Stipe Miocic from conversation when you fight him first. So he can't have a claim for that belt, and you never have to fight him again. No rematch. This dude's going to have to fight a bunch of other people, and we already saw the talent marching through the heavyweight division now. We see these up-and-comers. So you don't have to worry about Stipe anymore. I mean, that's essentially killing two birds with one stone. John Jones, I think, made a strategic error there, and we call that in chess terminology, that's losing a tempo. That you lost a tempo there, John. You got to get back on your game.
You know,
Now,
I don't think Stipe is such an easy uphill climb for John. I mean, when you look back at his fight against Dominic, and people argue that Dominic won that fight, that's what I think a fight between Stipe and John kind of looks like.
Well, the world may never know.
The problem with that is that Dominic Cruz is very much
Not Dominic Cruz, Dominic Reyes.
I'm sorry. Dominic Reyes.
Even though I would love to see that fight too. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see a Dominic Cruz fight. Dominic Cruz, John Jones. Yeah.
But thank you for that. But Dominic Reyes is very much the same kind of body build as John Jones, and he's younger and faster. Stipe Miocic, on the other hand, is not. And so when you start thinking about the fact that Stipe Miocic is giving up a 4-inch reach advantage to John Jones, Stipe Miocic is not a kickboxer. He is strictly a boxer with some wrestling, but not the level of wrestling of John Jones. John Jones has all the tick marks in his favor. That when you start looking at someone like Dominic Reyes, I think that you start finding that they start looking a lot alike. So anyway, talking about bringing new people into the sport, people like Dominic Reyes, who is the Devastator, who fights at Southpaw and gives up a 7-inch reach advantage to John Jones, but was still able to have the more athletic agility that that leads me to believe that I think that John Jones lost that fight. So College Boy is talking to us here, and he says activity matters. Derek has been way more active lately. He earned the shot. Plus, he doesn't eye poke like Jones. I mean, facts. I don't dispute you there. Derek Lewis should get the title shot, but it was John Jones's for the taking. John Jones could have jumped in line, but you know he wants to barter and negotiate, and he doesn't have the better position there. Dana White reveals that UFC is ready to sign Kayla Harrison when she reaches free agency. So Kayla Harrison is currently the PFL champion, and I believe she's fighting at 135. Someone check that. She's either 135 or 140. But either way, she is the person that we could potentially see be the Amanda Nunes, the Lioness Killer, if you will. And so Dana White said, and Dana White has been, doesn't want to. Isn't I think she's going to be fighting at 145. But Dana White hasn't wanted to sign Kayla Harrison, but she's coming on the end of her contract for PFL. And so it looks like she's going to win the championship again at PFL, And so, therefore, what we could potentially get is Dana White making a play to bring Kayla Harrison to the UFC and finally finding somebody who might be able to challenge Amanda Nunes. Why are you hollering tribute? You think she's gonna be a tribute?
Like that
one. Maybe. I mean, I'm not going to take anything
sacrificial
away from
lambs being led to the slaughter, man.
Well, I'm just going to
And
say that the
I
last.
still don't see how you fix your name, your mouth, to even think that Cyborg would have a chance against Amanda. But anyway, back to Drake.
Drink.
I'm out.
But Kayla Harrison is the only person. Of course, she is very much in the same vein as Ronda Rousey. An Olympic judoka coming into mixed martial arts, having a very dominant, early part of her career. So, in the Ronda Rousey mold, you've got someone like Kayla Harrison coming and just running through ladies, in PFL. So this is the type of person with the hype going behind her that a Dana White can make something up. And when you're looking at 145, you got Amanda Nunes. Somebody needs to challenge her. When you got 135, Amanda Nunes. We need that. We have that problem. 125, you got Valentina Shevchenko. Those three divisions right now need a boogie monster. They need somebody that these champions can face that is actually competitive. So we'll see about that one. Michael Chandler said that there's a case for an immediate rematch versus Charles Oliveira. I don't think so. I think that he got whooped. He was
how
in there,
you figure?
but he goes, there's a
dominated
case.
him in the first round. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and then 19 seconds later,
he was done.
Stuff happens.
So why he was winning until he wasn't?
First round?
Is that what
I'm just saying, he almost put Oliveira out in the first round. Like, he literally had him. Oliveira did the smart thing by laying on his back, because if he had stayed in that position he was in, Michael Chandler would have knocked him out. Period. There's no way around it. So Oliveira was smart in that. And so I do kind of see where Chandler's at. He's like, dude, that was a very competitive fight. That was a good fight.
It was a great fight. Like, I'm not going to knock the fight, but let me just remind Mr. Chandler that you got that fight after beating Dan Hooker. So one fight in the UFC, you got a title shot, and now you think your next shot should be yet another title shot? Like, don't we think a lot of ourselves?
Yeah.
I mean, even if people are saying that you should get another title, like, just saying. He fought one fight, gets 2 title shots out of it. What? Who is he? Steve?
His first 3 fights in UFC are going to be 2 of them are going to be championship matches. I don't know about that, bro.
That's Connor level swag.
Yeah,
crack me up, because no problem if Cyborg showed back up, y'all would toss her in there for a title fight right now.
Yes,
because Cyborg has killed everybody. Okay, that's the reason she has a reputation. You know how many bodies are in her closet right now because of her MMA career?
She's got a closet made of bodies to put bodies in.
Yes.
So you got some Michael haters.
I'm not a hater. I'm not a hater. I give respect where respect is. He has been saying all the right things. He's been acting all the right ways. However, you came in on fire and you got stopped. Now, take a couple of steps back, reassess. We're gonna get you a guy. Don't worry, we're gonna get you a top 5. We're gonna get your top 5 in there. You go in there, you whoop him down. And then we'll talk about you getting back up at the top, because there's other fighters back there that are saying, hey, man, it's my turn next.
Dana White said that he is open to a fun fight between Michael Chandler and Justin Gaethje.
I would love to see that.
See? Now, if he beat Justin Gaethje, if he stops Justin Gaethje, let's put him back in there with Charles Oliveira again. I don't have a problem with that. But you got to fight somebody else.
Yeah,
Fight
you
somebody
can't.
else. Come on, bro.
Quit skipping
I like
line,
that.
dog.
I like the Gaethje fight. Don't get me wrong, I do. But I think that
All right.
the Oliveira fight will be interesting to see again. Hopefully, we'll get
It
to
will
see it.
be.
So
It will be when he earns his right.
So here's an interesting thing. Diego Lima, Charles Oliveira's coach, said that during training, Charles Oliveira suffered a leg injury that kept him from kicking and making kicking as big a part of his strategy as they wanted it to be. And so, so he lost a couple of weeks of training because of his leg. And so, therefore, what we saw at 262 might not have been a 100% Charles Oliveira.
Are you saying that he wasn't fighting in his final form? Is that what you really want to go?
He might have been like, that might have been like 30%.
Oh.
dude, most fighters step into a cage with some injury through camp. Like camp is where you primarily get hurt at in the first place, man. It's not uncommon for guys to step in and have whatever kind of nagging injuries going on. I'd be more interested in knowing how bad this injury was, not just because the coach said, "Hey, up until 2 weeks ago he couldn't kick." That's not uncommon.
That sounds like it's a distraction, if anything. I mean, once again, you walked in that cage, you closed it up, you said, "Hey, I'm ready to go. No excuses." Okay.
Well, it worked out, but I'm just saying, it's an interesting thing to learn that, in coming up to these fights, and I understand that it's pretty routine that those things happen, but it is interesting to know that Charles Oliveira potentially had a leg injury coming into the fight with Michael Chandler. Let's go to this next story. Did you guys ever watch that? I can't think of the name of it's a reality dance show called So You Think You Can
Dance?
Fight? That's right. Triller is putting on a reality show in partnership with Nigel Lithgow from So You Think You Can Dance called So You Think You Can Fight.
Moving on. Brendan Schaub claims he and Dylan Dennis do.
So it's one of those things where let's talk about this. It's a reality show called So You Think You Can Fight. It's done in the Ultimate Fighter, because remember what set the UFC off on this path that is amazing is this Ultimate Fighter, where Diego Sanchez and where Stephan Bonner and Boris Griffin,
Bisping,
all these guys, that's what set them off, on that new trajectory. This is Triller executing the same strategy with a very similar thing where it's gonna be a boxing show, and so therefore Triller would be having a lightweight and a heavyweight boxing division and an MMA division, and so therefore you would follow these fighters ultimately leading to their first professional Triller match. And so Nigel Lithgow is going to be one of the producers. He is known for his So You Think You Can Dance, and so they're calling it So You Think You Can Fight, and so we'll have to see how much of a train wreck that really is.
Okay. Triller, you have potential. You have real potential. You're squandering it, in my opinion. I do believe you are squandering it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those times where you have someone who has a lot of money who wants to do something, and so they don't know how to do it. It's maybe that Dunning-Kruger effect, where it's I got the money. And so I got to do this. I'm going to be the one to do this. I'm going to make this happen because I know how this is supposed to go. And so therefore, they just go and start putting their money behind this initiative, but it doesn't have a business plan. It doesn't have a strategy going into the market. They don't know the industry as well as they need to be able to not look like a fly by night kind of operation. And in this world, in this world where now we can see everything via social media and we are quick to judge, you don't get the same leeway that 25 years ago the UFC had.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was fly by night. It was shady. But there was no internet when the UFC started.
I think if there was an internet when the UFC started, that they probably would be in a bigger place because you could go totally underground with it. You know,
if they had the internet the way the internet is today in 2021, when the UFC started back in, what was it, 98, 99?
93.
Oh, sorry, 93. Then no, it was a shady operation. Let's be real.
Well, the original UFC, yeah, it was a shady operation.
That's where Triller is right now. Triller is trying to get their thing off the ground. They are at step one, but they have the UFC and the Bellator and ONE FC, and they've got all of the other boxing world there that's commenting on what they're trying to do. That's why all of this work that they're doing with the Jake Pauls and the Logan Pauls and things like that, all of these kind of kitschy sideshow type fights that they're doing is popular with casuals, but not anything that's going to give them legitimacy and credibility in in combat sports.
Yeah, and I could see
this reminds me of when the XFL first came out, like way back. It was there for show, didn't last too long, and it was that one and done. Hell, basically the UFC's format for cutting fighters. You're going to get 3 opportunities. After that third one, we're cutting you, and that's what I see happening with Triller.
Well, and on top of that, I mean, when the UFC was originally created, it was created for 2 reasons. One was to spread the gospel of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu specifically. 2, it was to answer the question, which martial art is the greatest, which is a crazy, as I've gotten older and wiser, that's a crazy question, because while the martial art is significant, it is the fighter that is the most integral part to answering that question. So with that said, I mean, it was eye-catching. It was like, we just got through watching Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and we were like, wow, this is something relevant. And we watched this and we watched it, but then we had senators and people who couldn't really comment on what the UFC was, trying to put it down. And that's what I think is different to now, because now we have Triller out there and they're trying to do a boxing and an MMA. Well, guess what? We got 2 giants here that can pile in on that can talk about that. What I find hypocritical, though, is that the UFC knows that where they're coming from, and instead of trying to scoot them in and coach them along, they know exactly where to hit them and where to put them down, in my opinion.
Why? Help me understand why the UFC would want to help Triller.
Hey, competition breeds. Hey, if you have competition, you breed a better business. Okay, think about all the companies that have consolidated into one.
Part of the problem with Triller, though, is
how many side
because
eyes
they're able to pay guys a lot more than the UFC is paying their fighters. They're creating this problem for the UFC. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. When Logan runs around and says, "Hey, I made $2 million and I've only had 2 fights in my life," then I'm sure everybody at the UFC, that's got to piss anybody who's off even remotely not getting paid anything close to that.
Where's
this guy's on this bootleg promotion and just made $2 million. I done put in 30 plus fights with the UFC, and I'm not even a millionaire.
Listen,
but to hear from Dana, you made a lot of money with him.
So I think it goes back to Logan Paul made $2 million, but the guy on the undercard, If he was saying he made $2 million, then there you go. But the fact is that Dana White knows that if the amount of pay made a difference to the UFC and the fighters on their roster, then Bellator would have won a long time ago.
True.
Bellator's been outpaying the UFC for years. ONE FC has been outpaying the UFC for years. UFC still has the brand.
Yeah. But ONE FC is popular in its region. Bellator is not. We're going to put that out there. But ONE FC is popular in its region. And look at what happened with Jake Paul. We'll use Jake Paul. Jake Paul got signed on with Showtime Boxing. He's going to be making some money now. He is on his path to become a legit boxer. How many people have that opportunity to go make some legit boxer money?
So College Boy says, I agree with John mostly, but Triller can diminish UFC credibility with spectacles like Askren. And asked whether Triller is going to evolve.
Triller will evolve if they get their act together. If they actually get some people who know the business, who knows about fighting, get them in there, put them in the right position. I guarantee Floyd, hey, I guarantee there's somebody on the money team that can do something about that. You just got to pay that money team money.
I just think that the economics and the inertia that is in the industry, you're just not going to be able to touch the UFC that way. What you have to be able to do is you've got to start building. You've got to invest as much as the UFC invests in the promotion, in the quality of the fights that you're putting together, and the storytelling that goes along with it. Like, you can't just be a fighting promotion. Bellator's putting on amazing fights. The fighters there are as good as those in the UFC, but we don't know who they are. We don't know their names. We don't know their stories. And this is what the UFC has done an amazing job with, is that they elevate it from just being about the fight to being about these fighters who are coming up in the Dana White Tuesday Contender Series and the Ultimate Fighter, these fighters who are getting second chances. Like, these are the people that we begin to follow, because we love the Tony Fergusons and the Diego Sanchez's and even the Michael Bispings, the Rashad Evans, because they've come up through those ranks of the Ultimate Fighter. We followed them. We knew their stories. Bellator doesn't have anything like that, and they can't afford to do those things because they're paying their fighters so much. So I just think that, Triller is one of those things where I kind of agree with College Boy in the fact that the spectacles that they're doing with Ben Askren, who used to be a UFC fighter, can diminish the UFC brand or the credibility a little bit. But at the end of the day, as long as they've got the Francis Ngannous and the John Joneses and the Conor McGregors and the Dustin Poiriers, Valentina Shevchenko, Amanda Nunes, these big names, these big fighters who are making big highlights, the brand will stay strong. And slowly but surely, over time, the war of attrition will fall in favor of the UFC, and they will sap the talent and sap the resources from everyone, maybe with the exception of ONE FC because they are so strong in Asia. But everyone else is slowly but surely going to lose the battle to the UFC because we are brand loyal people, and we don't have enough time to follow all of these promotions and all of these fighters. It's why we cover UFC primarily on this show and not as much Bellator, not as much ONE FC, not even as much boxing. Think about it. The entire sport of Muay Thai has been almost relegated because we only have enough time to do UFC. So, let's continue. Brendan Schaub claims that he and Dylan Dennis knew that Jake Paul planned to crash the interview. We covered this a couple of weeks ago. I just thought it was an interesting thing that the way that Brendan Schaub had prior knowledge that Jake Paul was going to show up and try to do something to disrupt the interview that he was having, that Brendan Schaub was having with Dylan Dennis. And because of that, it just goes to show this behind the scenes, this WWE effect of this sport that I think is undercutting and hurting the purity of martial arts as it is on display in the UFC and in other of these promotions. It just goes to show how the behind the scenes of that it's fake, and we shouldn't necessarily give it the juice that we give it, because we should know that it's fake, and we should call it out when we see it.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. But we have been so conditioned by the WWE after all these years, because we're all kids of professional wrestling at some level, and we are conditioned to, when we have something that, like you said, is pure as UFC and other MMA organization, when we see things happen like that, we're like, oh my God. And it's like, oh, and then we find out weeks later, oh, it was totally staged. Yeah. I mean, we really have to, do we have to start researching this that hard now, that we have to start considering the source as Jake, that every time we see Jake Paul's like, oh, it's him again? Are we going to have to relegate that? Because what happens in that one time when it is real? What happens in that one time that he does get jumped by Luke Rockhold and Daniel Cormier and John Jones? The one time that John Jones and Daniel Cormier will agree upon something and they trash him, Or are we going to sit there and say, oh, that's totally fake now? That's totally WWE.
I think we will be more cynical when we see these things happening. Like, now it's like being cynical about Floyd Mayweather and the got your hat thing. Like, maybe that was set up. Maybe that was
I don't know, man. I don't know, because you can't have a haircut like that under that hat and think that I think that was totally legit. I have to say, because Floyd's hair was not prepared for screen time. Let's just say it like that. That head was not prepared for screen time.
It was not. I didn't even recognize it when I saw him. I thought that was a body double.
Yeah.
Hey, remember last week we talked about Husimar Palhares?
Oh yeah, our boy. Yeah.
So, can't let go of the leg.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't remember, there used to be a UFC fighter named Husimar Palhares, and he was known for getting these leg locks. And when his opponent would tap and the referee would call the fight, he wouldn't let go of the submission. And so and this dude was just like, his nickname was Tree Stump, and he was built like a freaking tree stump. And so you had to fight this dude to get him off you. And so I wanted to call out this story about the referee had to grab the fighter's neck because he refused to let go of a choke. So the guy gets a guillotine. The opponent tries to fight him off. Finally can't, so he taps. The referee calls the fight. The guy doesn't let go of the guillotine. The referee has to grab the guy by the throat and start choking the dude applying the guillotine so that the guy will let go.
He stopped the choke with a choke.
He stopped the choke with a choke. And it just goes to show that we take for granted, how the UFC and Bellator and even ONE FC, because they have commissions and things like that things go fairly well between these fights. Like, it's not the Wild West, but as you get into these regional promotions, things can get a little out of hand. Like, it is a dangerous spot. And even if you go back and watch the Dustin Poirier version of Hot Ones, which was entertaining, he talked about how fighting in these regional promotions was always a sketchy kind of thing. You never knew what was going to happen and what additional adversity you have to overcome in addition to just fighting in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of letting go of things, fellas, I need to vacate the premises. I got to make a move, but I want to tell you a couple things I got going on here next weekend. Don't forget, guys. I think I mentioned to you before. We're having a barbecue over at my gym, so come out on Sunday, watch some Muay Thai and boxing fights, man. But other than that, I got to make a run.
All right.
Good to see you guys.
Peace. Let's finish this up, Mr. Keys.
Yes, sir.
All right. So last thing, Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, they are going to have a fight July 24th. It's all but signed in Las Vegas. Now, we thought we were going to get to see Fury versus Anthony Joshua and try to reunite the heavyweight belts, but unfortunately, it looks like Fury lost the arbitration, and so the arbitrator ruled in Wilder's favor, forcing him to activate the rematch clause for a Fury Wilder 3 over that over what is it, the WBO title.
I thought it was WBC.
WBC. Sorry.
WBC. Yeah. And that makes sense. I mean, are you running? That's what that makes me wonder. Was he running? Because why wouldn't you? I mean, it's very rare that I've heard that once the reactivation clause has been the rematch clause has been activated, that the fighter wouldn't oblige. I've never heard that when they wouldn't oblige that.
He's not running. He's not running. If you call it running, he's running to the payday. Like, you have the WBC fight title. Mm-hmm. Do you want to fight Deontay Wilder for the third time, or do you want to fight Anthony Joshua for the first time for a chance to unite all of the belts? Which fight do you want?
I want the fight that's not going to get me in legal trouble. Okay, to be quite honest, I know that fight, the unification fight, is coming. That's a guarantee. But on a legal side of things, if I'm being called out legally, then I'm really going to take it out on you, and then I'm going to go get my unification fight. So I mean, that's what me as a fighter would do. I know that I don't care who's going to have that belt. My unification fight is coming. I know that. But if you're going to sit there and try and call me out legally, then you're going to catch the butt kicking of a lifetime. I'm beating you pillar to post.
Well, we're going to see. I still have Fury winning that fight. I will go ahead and make my pick now. I got Fury over Deontay Wilder. I still think Fury is a better boxer. I think that, it's always the one-punch power that Deontay Wilder has that makes him the threat. But at the end of the day, when it comes to being a technical boxer, I think that Fury has Deontay Wilder's number. I think he'll win that fight in July. And just remember last time you ate a lot of crow.
That's a lot of crow. But when you're 42-1 with 41 KOs. Oh,
he's
man.
40. He's 42 and Fury. 42 and Fury. That's what he is.
I think he's gonna get that revenge, dude. I'll mark it right here. Wilder.
Well, tell him not to wear a 40-pound costume to the ring this time.
That is the truth. There are facts in that statement.
So, all right, that's our last story. Follow us on social media. On Instagram, I'm at Combat Sports Talk.
And I'm at Keys to Victory, and that's Keys with the ES. We're going to talk next week about our path to enlightenment. You can watch my Instagram posts, and you'll see me talk crazy while I'm out there sweating like a Hebrew slave.
All right. And if you want to follow George, he's at darkside_Muay Thai_. And you can find us on our website at www.combatsportstalk.com. We are on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. I want to send a shout out to MMA Junkie, MMA Fighting, MMA Mania, Bloody Elbow, and the Intelligent Defense Discussion Group. That is where all of our stories that we talk about on the show, where we find them and where we start those discussions. So I also want to say this. This weekend was a poignant weekend for me because I laid to rest one of my really great friends from college, my fraternity brother, and one of the first guests that we had on Combat Sports Talk, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Tori Strong. I called him our original fight doctor for Combat Sports Talk. He was a martial artist, and he was a great chemist, and he loved the combat sports game just as much as we did. And I had him on the show only one time, which was episode 11 of combat sports talk. And yesterday, we laid him in to rest in his final resting place in Kilgore, Texas. And so what I'd like to do to end the show is just a tribute and a replay of my telling from episode 11 of meeting Tori for the very first time. So thank you all for joining us for this show. As always, remember to keep your hands up, your chin tucked, and throw bombs. And here is our tribute to Dr. Tori Strong. KC is out of the studio this week, but joining me is a great friend of mine, my very own fight doctor, Dr. Tori Strong.
How's it going?
It's fantastic. I am so glad that you're able to make it onto the show. I think we've got a great one, but before we get into the show, I definitely want to tell everyone out there how you and I met. It's one of my favorite stories, and it goes back to when we were in college. We're both Baylor Bears.
Sick'em Bears. And I was a bit of a mischievous freshman, and I had this killer clown mask that I used to like to wear. And we went, it was around Halloween time, and I had this killer clown mask, and I went and bought these plastic meat cleavers. And so what we were doing is I would hide in someone's closet, and as they were walking into their room, I would jump out in the dark with this killer clown mask and these huge meat cleavers and just like scare them silly. And so someone had the idea to go downstairs and to do this trick on this guy named Tori. So we go downstairs and I hide in the closet. Right as the door starts opening and Tori's walking in, I jump out, hold these meat cleavers to his neck. And that's when I learned that Dr. Tori Strong is a trained martial artist. Do you remember this? Vaguely, but yes, I do remember it.
So, I mean, he was lightning fast. He disarmed me, very nearly kneed me, in the nether regions, put me in a headlock, took me down, and then the whole time he was laughing, going, "Who is this? Who is this?"
Yeah, that's correct. I remember being startled initially and quickly responded, but then realized it was a joke in the middle of responding. So I knew it was some guy trying to play a practical joke, and I had no idea who you were because you were much taller than I am, and so I knew I had to immobilize whoever this guy was. But fortunately, it was just a joke.
Yeah, I'm in a headlock, going, please let me go. It's a joke. Don't hurt me. Everything happened so fast. Everything happened so fast. It was just crazy. So that's one of my favorite stories to tell. Anytime I introduce you, I have to tell that story.